What's good, y'all? It's your girl Clarissa Lachey, aka Poison for the Soul. Okay, so what's good, y'all? In this video, I am going to be doing a story time on why I quit my job where I was receiving benefits. I quit my job in the mental health field, and literally I've been trying to find what I want to do next with my life, so to speak. Now, this story time is a little juicy. This is going to be like a re-upload, but like I'm going to be a little more gentle in this video because, listen, I kind of went in my first video, had some people feeling some type of way. Again, the truth hurts. So I was working at a psychiatric hospital for almost 2 years. I'd say about 1 year and 9 months. And prior to me entering into this field, I was working with youth, adolescents. Like, I love working with teenagers, and that was for a long time. It was my passion, but I quickly got burnt out not because I didn't want to deal with the kids, but just because it was just like the work field, it's corrupt. Let's just be honest. It's just corrupt. It is what it is. We're just going to call a spade a spade. And so I've tried my luck at mental health. Another reason why I wanted to get into this is because I decided to go back to school and get my social work degree. You know, my master's in social work. So I was like, oh, this is going to be perfect. I'm going to get my degree and I'm going to get some experience in the mental health field. And then once I get my degree, I'm going to get more work experience and yada yada yada. Like, I was going to travel, girl. I was going to be a whole social worker, traveler, like just making money. Like, you know how the nurses just be traveling, making money? That was going to be me, girl, but as a social worker. Clearly, that is just not what God and the universe had planned out for me. It just wasn't supposed to be. So I started working at this little psychiatric hospital back in 2021. And initially, I was really excited. Like, before I started working there, people were already speaking negative. Like, oh my God, like, that was the worst job I ever had. I had, someone told me that. They're like, oh, don't work for that company. Don't do that. Don't. Like, I was being warned and I was just being stubborn. But really, I was like, why? I was being optimistic. Like, why y'all raining on my parade? Like, no congratulations, no flowers, no like, oh girl, like, I wish you the best of luck. It was, don't go. Don't go over there. And I should have listened. Because what I'm about to tell you, when people warn you and it may sound like they hating from the sidelines, but sometimes when someone warns you, take heed to the message. I quit that job the same week that I started this new job. And the first 2 weeks we had to do NEO training, which is new employee orientation. And basically it was a bunch of BS. Okay, I mean, yeah, like, I learned a lot. Like, I learned too much information that had nothing to do with the job that I was going to actually be performing. Like, let's be all the way real. However, it was insightful, like, I got through it. Some of the sessions were long. We had to do like a lot of training on the computer. Well, in my NEO group or NEO training or NEO class, it was just me and one other person. And this person was actually going to be someone that I was going to be working with at the hospital. So where we got trained at was at a different building than like the location that we were going to be working at. So we kind of got a feel of what that building was like. And I like that you got to dress up. It was like a whole professional atmosphere, but I just didn't like the little uppity. Like, to me, it just seemed too like fake. Anyways, the girl that I was training with, like, we would be in a little training room together. We'd be in the classes together, and then sometimes we'd have lunch together. She was real cool in the beginning. Like, she kind of put me on game about what to expect at the new job or just working with the company because she had worked with them before. So I was looking forward to it. This girl that I was training with, I'm gonna call her Ivy. I'm gonna try to use the same names that I used in the previous video because it was just more simpler. Ivy was like, she was very open and transparent about her own personal business, and me being the natural listener that I am, I was just taking it all in. And I didn't understand why she was just so quick to just expose all her business to me. It makes sense later down the road now, but in the beginning, I was just like, oh, okay, she's real cool. I like her personality. Like, she's real. She's just telling me how it is. And it is what it is. Like, I like people who just are who they are. Like, they just keep it a buck. So I thought, well, finally, we get through the training and we start working at the hospital. I'm working days, she's working nights. So we really not working together, but we're on the same team. There's team A and there's team B. And there's supposed to be 3 people on a day shift and 2 people on a night shift, and then, you know, for both teams, and we each had a supervisor. Now, as soon as I started, it was supposed to be like a full, like, our team was gonna be full. But the same week that I started, it was the same week the other girl quit, and I don't blame her. She probably got up out of there as quickly as she could, because she knew, this is not the place for me. I wish I had met her, because you know what? I needed to know this information much sooner. So I meet my team, and one of the people that I meet on my team, his name is Roger. Now, I'm gonna be honest, Roger was a little goofball, but to me, he seemed like he was very used to just being told what to do to get along, and he got along with everybody, you know, well. He was real good at just playing his part in the beginning. Now, when I started, I couldn't go to Roger for help because Roger acted like he was so clueless, so I ended up meeting Envy. Envy she was a little white girl, older white girl, sorry, not little, older. And she was from Chicago, and she would always talk about how she had all these black friends. She would do her hair in braids every now and then come to work. You know, just always trying to be down with the brown. And I didn't understand it, but I also knew, like, some white people just do this. Like, they just want to be invited to the barbecue so bad. And that was her. She was Envy. Of me. So Envy actually was the one to train me for the job. Like, she told me all the paperwork, she told me what I needed. She basically helped me with my notes, with the formats. Like, she was really good at what she did. Like, I'm gonna be real, like, she was really good at being the triage specialist. That was her role, that was her title. And honestly, like, in the beginning, I would go to her for a lot, and I realized over time, like, she was getting a little tired of me asking questions. However, like, I was retaining it. Like, it takes me a while to, like, really retain information. Like, I gotta keep doing it. And if you're just telling me and not letting me do it at the same time that you're telling me, it's just like, oh my god, it just gets a little chaotic. And so eventually I picked up on it because I realized, like, she was the only person that I can go to, but they were also putting a lot of work on her. And the other team, the other people, even on the next team, weren't really willing to step in and help me. I mean, my supervisor gave me a book to read, and that was her part of this training. She was just so proud of herself, mind you. There was another supervisor there at the time. She was over the 2 supervisors for both teams, and she also was a very knowledgeable lady. Now, in the beginning, she seemed like cool people. Like, she would come into the office a lot, check in on us, make sure that we was doing our job. She was kind of like an extra support system, which I really did enjoy. Our director at the time was just a real loudmouth woman, okay? She just spoke her mind. She said what she wanted. She said how she felt, and she didn't care how anyone else felt. She would come into the office and, like, just tell all these stories, and it would be about, like, her old job. Like, she would be talking dog crap about them, and it's just like, I just thought she was an interesting person, I ain't gonna lie. There were other key players in this story, but I ain't gonna really go into details about them. You know, we had doctors. One of the doctors actually was on site, and I actually like this doctor. He, again, very knowledgeable person, very professional in the beginning. Notice how I keep saying in the beginning is because these are my first impressions of these people. Now, I get to train a little bit with B team, which is the other team. And immediately I noticed that on B team, Envy took on a completely different personality. Envy wasn't the super helpful person that she was on team A, but she was more so like very catty, very chatty, gossip, and very just you know, I didn't like what I saw when I saw Indy on B Team. It was like she's putting on a different show, or maybe she was putting on a show for me. I really don't know. But there were like 3 people on their team. See, that team was actually full. One of the persons we're just gonna call Joe. Joe would come into work and just be in the most baggiest clothes, no underwear on, because every time he bent over or just sat or lounged in his chair, you just saw his butt crack, his old booty cheeks, just out. I mean, put his legs all on the desk, just had food everywhere, crumbs all around him. It was just a mess. I just didn't understand why Joe was why was he still there? Like, I didn't understand it. But outside of Joe, we had Kevin. Kevin was, you can describe him as a little nerdy, geeky guy. And he was so, like, tried so hard to be down with the brown, okay? I didn't understand, like, he would always make a point to, like, make references to, you know, black entertainment, like movies, music. And I'm pretty sure he did, like, actually listen to that stuff. But the type of, where he was from Ohio, first of all. And the type of, like, environment that this person spoke of just let me know that there was no black people around. So it was like, you must have seen all this on TV to kind of help you, put you on game. But you had Joe, Kevin, and then we're going to call the other one Kimberly. Kimberly did not speak. She was real, like, very quiet. Like, she stayed to herself. Like, I would come in and Kimberly would be watching TV. She'd be reading, studying for school, and she would be getting up and doing her job. Kimberly was the only one that worked on that team, let's be honest. You know, you had Kevin and Joe, like, putting on a show, acting like they was doing something. Like, every now and then Joe, like, when he needed to, like, to save face, he would do that really well. Joe had been there for like 12, 15 years. So, like, Joe got to a point where he could just do whatever he wanted. Felt like, I didn't like this team. However, their supervisor, I'm going to call her Miss Cheryl. Miss Cheryl. Miss Cheryl was mad cool. Like, Miss Cheryl was an elegant lady. She was real classy. She was real poised. Like, she kept herself together. Like, I loved how she would come in, step in with the outfits. Okay, she looked like a church lady. But, like, you could tell that she probably worked real hard to get to her position. And honestly, them people played in her face. I did not like how Team B treated Miss Cheryl. I felt like Miss Cheryl should have been on our team. Like, she had her team's back. Like, she would make sure that if they needed help or she needed to do something, she'll go above and beyond for them. And I respected that about Miss Cheryl. Now, back to my team. Team A. Team A, like, we would get a lot of people picking up shifts to kind of fill in the gap. Because, like I said in the beginning, like, the girl, she quit. As soon as I started, she's like, oh, they got a new person. I'm out the door. So I would meet all different types of characters, all different types of personalities on Team A. And there would be people picking up shifts from, like, other part of the company. And because they would pick up, they were all, you know, black. They were real about what was going on. Like, they did not like working at the psych hospital, but they liked the money that came with it. Because when you pick up extra shifts, you make, like, double pay, triple pay. Like, girl, we was getting banked picking up them extra hours. However, they would come in and they'd be loud and proud, and I love that because I like black people. I like being around my own. And they kind of like they were really honest when it came to, like, certain personalities, certain personas. And honestly, I should have took heed to that because I want to see people in the best light. I want to see people who are just, look, I know you can be a bad person, a moody person, a shady person. But I kind of just have hope that people are going to be good, right? Well, as time goes on, I noticed that on my team, Roger must have just gotten real comfortable with the fact that he was now the oldest person on our team, meaning just out of me and him, he would compare himself a lot to Joe. And I didn't like that because I'm like, you're not on Joe's team. And most certainly you're not on Joe's level. Not that Joe was on a higher level. It's just like clearly Joe had more supports within the company than Roger had. And Roger would at times make excuses to why he didn't have to work hard. And when we would get people coming in, like, yeah, he would complain anytime he get a call, anytime it was something that like he actually had to do his job, he would complain, and it would just irritate me. It got to a point where I did not like hearing someone complain that much. Like, it made me like want to shut down and just not talk and interact with that person. And on the days where I would shut down and not interact with him, he would, of course, use trigger words. Like, why are you so angry? Why are you so mad? And me being a black woman, knowing where that comes from, it will really trigger me. And I had to tell him, like, there's more than one emotions other than being angry and mad. I'm not mad. What I should have told him was, I'm fed up with your foolishness. I'm irritated by your energy. However, I kept my peace because I know what they wanted. They wanted me to act out of character. They wanted me to act loud. They wanted me to be rambunctious, and that's just not who I was going to be. I noticed that Envy got a kick out of this. Like, it was very sly, it was very undercover, but Envy would get a kick out of this because she actually did not like Roger. But Envy was the type of person where she wanted other people to speak for her. If we're being honest, she wanted other people to tell her truth. And so what she would do is she would play the nice girl, the cool girl, the laid back, everyone loves her, right? Because she just knew how to play the two-face. I mean, she was a Gemini. No shade, all tea. And I started picking up on her character based off being in the same room, because we all work in the same office. There was no cubicles. Like, baby, we all seen face. We all saw what each other ate, all kinds of stuff. When we would have the doctor come in, girl, I don't even know if I gave this doctor a name. We're gonna call him Dr. Garcia. Dr. Garcia would come in, and that's the doctor that I was like, oh, he's professional. In the beginning, like, he was very professional. He was about his work. Very like knowledgeable. Like, that man taught me a lot of things, and he was real patient, and I liked him. What I noticed what Envy would do is Envy would like see good people, the qualities of them, and she would like try to befriend them. And what she did with me, and I noticed that over time that Dr. Garcia became less and less professional. And not just saying that it was just Envy's doing, because Team B in general were not the most professional people. Like, they would come into work. Joe had his foot all over the table, all over the desk, eating crumbs everywhere. They're just cussing. Like, they would just be all just a whole mess. And I'm witnessing this, and I'm just like, there's no professionalism here. At first, I'm like, you know what, this is the first job, or maybe it's just the first job around a bunch of white people, where I'm like, oh, y'all are not professional at all. Like, y'all just cool with being very unclassy. Like, and I know people wanted me to be real nice and take it easy on them, but I'm gonna be honest, this job was so unprofessional. However, I saw dollar signs, and I was willing to work because I needed the money, and I wanted to further myself into my career, because every job I had before that, they wanted me to take the bare minimum. And I'm like, yo, I work too hard. And especially if you're putting more work on me, I'm not accepting bare minimum. So with this job, I was just real taken back about the entire unprofessionalism. Well, this is just the first month, 2 months into the story, because I stayed there for 2 years. So I'm going to kind of like fast forward a little bit, but not too much. This is just the behavior that I'm noticing. And like I said, me and Ivy, we would catch up and just lace each other on game. Well, after a while, they ended up like temporarily having, we're gonna call her Genesis. Hopefully I can remember these names. Genesis eventually started working a lot of hours on our team just to fill in that gap. And me and Genesis became cool. Genesis, she could cook her butt off. She could bake. She was really, to me, a sweetheart. But she would get on Roger's tail, because Roger was like, you're slacking. Like, you're intentionally not picking on work, especially when we would, on days that we would have people come in and help. Roger did the least. He would sit and slack. He would sit and slumber. He would sit and just wanted somebody to just like take on his work, and I did not like that. And it was like, he was comparing himself to Joe, and I knew it was because he felt like, I've been here working the longest on this team, so I get the privileges that Joe and Kevin. No, you don't. They don't like you. They treat you like crap. And Roger eventually learned this lesson towards the end of the story, okay? He eventually learned this the hard way. So Genesis we would get along real well. Like, she would come in, she was like teaching me how to like make vegan food. Like, we would talk about like vacations, because like we had a lot in common. Like, let's be real, we would talk about like vacation destinations that we wanted to experience or just travel to. She, like I said, would teach me about like how to make certain foods. She recommended a lot of stuff to me, stuff that again that we both be interested in. I noticed that anytime a black person, girl, I don't know why I'm doing this and I'm saying black, a black person will come in and fill up, because I was working with a lot of white people at this time. I was just the only black person in the office at this time. They all felt some type of way how quickly I was able to befriend them and become friends with them. I mean, before there was Genesis, there was other black people coming in, picking up shifts, and we would be in the office cackling, laughing, enjoying each other's company, just talking. Like, they made work worth enjoying. Like, after a while, there was a girl on night shift on our team who, she just could not take it no more. She had enough of their crap. She had already been working for 6 months. She would come and tell me that they treated her like crap. Like, this lady already had a leg that she really couldn't use and operate that well. But she was very honest with how they treated her. I mean, they bullied her, they targeted her, anything that she did, they nitpicked at her work, and they made her feel so low to the point where she was like, I don't want to do this. Like, she was looking for jobs immediately. As soon as me and Ivy got hired on, she was already looking for work. And I feel like Ivy took the bait, because Ivy was also like really mean to her, like talking bad about her, like, oh, this girl don't do nothing the whole time. She be doing what she can. Like, the lady already could barely walk. Okay, she could barely walk on her one leg. But I could tell that the job was getting to her, because she was becoming more and more anxious. Like, oh, what if I'm gonna mess up? It was like, master, you know, like, she was so concerned about like messing up that it was taking a toll on her mental health. And one thing about this lady, we would talk a lot about spiritual stuff, and like, she necessarily didn't need advice from me, but she was more so like just letting me know, like, hey, I'm getting to a point where I'm gonna go live on a beach, and I'm gonna just have a whole operation where I am doing my whole spiritual practice on this beach, and I'm also gonna be working, doing something else that is gonna bring her more peace. And I thought that was a good idea, because honestly, when I first moved to Texas, I had lived by a beach, and I loved it. I didn't get to visit it as much, but I knew exactly what beach she was talking about, and like, I wished her the best of luck. So not too long after those conversations, she did actually quit, and I'm glad that she did. Again, these are signs that I should have been taking heed to. I should have been paying attention to these messages and quitting a long time ago. Well, the summer comes. Mind you, she had already quit. Every day at this job, like every day I'm clocking in, it's getting worse and worse, y'all. But it's like slowly getting worse. But I'm just like watching it deteriorate. Like, it was so bad to the point where they start setting up people. I mean, like, you hear stories of people getting caught on the job sleeping. And I mean, you working overnight, you probably get tired. Shoot, people doing some shady stuff, taking pictures of somebody's sleep and sending it to the director. And then the director, and we had 2 directors at this time. The directors, they so messy, child. They trying to pick which people on their teams, or the people like that they're directed to like kick or target next. Because you had the director for the nurses, who was being a bully for the nurses, and you had the director for like the mental health staff, who was, I'm not even gonna put the blame on her as far as the targeting goes, but she was just messy. So guess what? They ended up catching them slipping. One day, the nurse, one of the black nurses from the back, came into the office, and she kicking it with Ivy and, whoever else is overnight. Oh, Genesis. Genesis got moved to overnight, child. She ain't even working on my team, but they all chilling in the office one day. They all became friends, and then next thing you know, like, they not friends. It was just a whole mess. Well, the nurse from the back actually was in the office when Ivy was on the phone with our director at the time, and the director made a nasty comment. And mind you, this is a black nurse, so you could, you knew that how it was gonna go. Once she said what she said, and like, there was witnesses to this. Next thing you know, they both getting suspended, baby. They both got terminated. They both was removed. Pack your stuff up and leave, because you cannot make the company look bad. You got these black women up in here setting you up. Oh no. That's exactly how I took it. Now, I'm bold. I'm real bold. Every time the executive director would come to the job, everybody act like, oh my God, we gotta act like we doing all this. I'm not working any harder than I already am, because I already am a hard worker, okay? Y'all need to play catch up, not me. So one day he comes in early. I'm talking about like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Child, I was there probably late. I probably got to work late. And I forgot a key player in this. We are going to call this lady Miss Holly. Miss Holly was such a messy woman. I did not like her, and she did not like me. In the beginning, I tried so hard to be cool with Miss Holly. I mean, she would pick up shifts every now and then too. But she was a complainer. Like, I did not like people who complain. Like, you know, just make a mess and a fuss about everything. She always had something negative to say about everybody. But in their face, Miss Holly knew how to play the games. She loved everybody. Oh, she was everybody's grandma. Not mine, child. My grandma don't act like this. My grandma don't act like this. She was everybody's mother, everybody's grandmother. And I'm like, my mother and my grandma don't act like this. They don't even know. They don't carry themselves like this. They don't do that. So one day, Miss Holly, she was working overnight. She had picked up a shift on our team because, you know, they was giving her this extra money, buco amount of money. And, you know, the executive director, he didn't like that. He was like, oh, why are we paying this lady so much money? And, you know, Miss Holly was a black woman, so let's be real. He didn't like the fact that he was paying her so much money because they ain't have nobody working. So Miss Holly said, I ain't got nothing to do with my life at all, so I'm going to work Monday through Sunday. And baby, she worked Monday through Sunday until they finally had to cut her hours, because she was there every damn day. Every day Miss Holly was there. So Miss Holly had the tea on everybody. Miss Holly did not like nobody. Let's keep it a buck. All the people that be in her face and she not like them. Miss Holly was a envious woman. She was a woman full of a lot of hatred in her heart, and I saw it. Ooh, I saw it, and I did not care for it, because she tried to play the role of the mother and the grandmother, and you was not it. You was a very, you know, a wretched woman, okay? So we in the office, it's me, Miss Holly, and I want to say Roger was there, but I don't think Roger was there at this time. But there was someone else that was there. Oh, child, it was Kimberly. Kimberly was in the office this day. And the executive director comes in and basically informing us that, you know, that the two directors were not going to be working. And I just asked, like, you know, what happened? Like, are we allowed to know what happened? That was my question. Are we allowed to know what happened? Why Miss Holly go back and say, oh, Clarissa was all up in the, she was just asking all the questions and just, you know, why did they get fired? Girl, that ain't never came out of my mouth. That ain't never, I just asked, are we allowed to know what happened? And she went back and like turned the story. So like, everybody was just like, oh, so why would you ask the executive director? Like, who are you to ask the executive director? Like, is that your place? And I'm just looking at these people like, y'all are really playing this role really well. Like, y'all the master. Like, I didn't like that. I'm not her. Like, I don't bow down to nobody. And I don't think they like that. So we are at a point where we no longer have directors, and our hospital actually gets shut down. No, before that, we had another nurse. Okay, she was one of the executive directors, you know, right-hand man. So she came over, and next thing you know, she's giving all the nurses ultimatums, like, you're gonna work this shift, this hour. Like, came and changed their whole schedule and wanted them to basically abide by her orders. And when them nurses had hearts and they had dignity and they had pride for themselves, they said, we ain't going for your mess, we are not going for your BS. They quit. They quit, as they should have. They left with their pride and dignity. The ones that stayed are the ones that lost. And it was only like 2-3 that stayed. The nursing staff, they left, they quit, as they should have. Again, another sign that I should have followed. Well, like I said, our hospital part gets shut down because without the nurses, we can't have no clients back there. So it gets shut down, and now we're still without a director. And mind you, I told you that we had like a supervisor who was over the two supervisors. Of course, by default, they end up giving her the director's position because, hey, you know, you been here the longest and you know what to do. She ain't been there the longest, but she been there a long time. And, you know, you look like you know what you're doing. You look, you know, we need you. So she takes the position. Now, in the beginning, I really liked this person. However, when she steps into her new role, Maybe she assumed a whole new identity with the role, okay? She became one of the most micromanagers that ever existed. And I'm talking, she had a point to single out a team. And I'm gonna tell you why in a minute. Well, let's just be real. She had a closer relationship with everyone on B team because they had all been there around the same time that she'd been there. I mean, I'm talking about with Joe putting his legs all on the table, eating, making the crumbs, making a mess everywhere. With Kevin being her little favorite. She wished that was actually her son or her man. We don't know. And Kimberly was just quiet. She just did what this one lady wanted her to do. And of course, you had Envy. Envy was really good at playing the role. Like, she played she just was real good at pretending like she knew what she was doing, which she actually did, but she was real good at just being everyone's friend. Now, during this time, we finally, allegedly they've been interviewing all these people, but finally they hire somebody after all the nurses quit. Like, we are at a point where it's like, it's just me and Roger's not pulling his weight. Roger is now the new target because everyone then left, everyone then quit, everyone already done did what they needed to do, so they needed a new target. They couldn't target Clarissa. Now, they tried to. Don't get me wrong, this is the reason why I quit. But he was the next target. So Roger, he couldn't handle being the one that was singled out because it was like, I was the good one, you know, y'all shouldn't be targeting me. Basically, in his head, and how I really feel like he felt is he should have been, like, I should have been the target because I was new. However, I stand up for myself. Okay, I have a backbone. Okay, we gonna get into it. So finally, they hired a new girl, and we're gonna call her Rachel. Rachel was black. And I was finally happy that I was no longer the only black one in the office. Now, while Rachel was getting hired, she has to do her own neo training. Now, during this time, we have a lady out of nowhere, out of the blue, just come and join us in the office. We're going to call her Amy. Amy and Envy became fast friends. And I'm talking about, like, if Envy did something, Amy did something with Envy. Like, they would be in the office talking about their whole business, telling their whole life story. And me and Amy, like, I don't know, like, I did not like Amy's energy. And Amy would refer to black people as coloreds. And I'm not from Texas. I'm not from the South. And where I'm from, that just don't come out your mouth. I mean, like, black people, African Americans, you got terminology to use for a reason. And yeah, some black people probably don't mind being referred to as a colored person. But when it comes from that type of person and that type of energy, and I checked it right away. Like, the first conversation that she kept bringing up colored people and the coloreds and coloreds and coloreds and coloreds. This lady was from the North, okay? And she made a point to talk about her racist daddy, even though her daddy was in the military and she was in the military and she just know all these black people, but she referred to them as colors, and I just did not like that. After that conversation, we did not have too many more conversations. And the reason why is because I was ended up working on Team B one day, and I brought it up because y'all are white people, so let me just ask y'all, let me ask the source. So I asked Joe and I asked Kevin, is it the norm for white people to refer to black people as coloreds in Texas? Because if so, I need to know this because I'm feeling real triggered that this woman in the office, and didn't nobody say nothing to her, but my face said it all. I'm like, is it okay for people, like, is this the norm that y'all refer to black people as coloreds? And they're looking shocked. Like, no, like, I will feel, like, they agree that they would have felt some type of way, but they're, of course, when I revealed who was just making these commentaries, they're like, well, maybe she didn't mean it like that. Of course, to you, she didn't mean it like that. But the fact that she felt comfortable enough to even refer to blacks, African Americans as colors, and you are a social worker, lady. You have black clients. I want you to refer to your black clients as coloreds. And I want you to just be alone with them. And I want you to see their reaction, because I was kind. I was nice in my reactions. And my face said it. But my voice was on mute because I knew how to conduct myself. I know how to be in this office with a bunch of others. Now, of course, that my question got back to her. Ain't no telling how Joe and Kevin worded my question to them. Because the next time that I worked with Miss Amy was feeling real tight. She didn't want to talk to me, and trust me, Miss Amy, I ain't want to talk to you either. Because you don't refer to people like that. You're a white woman, and you know that when it asks you what your race or ethnicity is on any type of paperwork, it's black or African American, white, and it has Asian and other groups listed. It does not say coloreds on there. So you know what you was doing, but you thought that you was going to get away with what you was doing. You wanted to make sure that your presence was known, that you was able to act a certain type of way. And when it got shut down, you felt some type of way, as you should have. So Envy and Amy was like this. They were real close, and for some reason, I noticed that they were real Envy kept trying so hard to be my friend, knowing that Amy didn't like me, knowing that I didn't care for Amy. And I'm playing into this because I'm thinking Envy is a real two-faced person, but at least she's helping me with my job, or at least I thought. Well, let me tell y'all how shady Envy really was. After we finally get Rachel hired on, during this whole time, her and Amy then teamed up against Roger, child. See, they knew that Clarissa was going to be able to speak and hold it down for herself, but Roger, he was not. So what they did was they started to tell on everything that Roger did to the new director. And I'm talking about everything, with him coming to work late. Mind you, Joe was always an hour, 2 hours late, but they ain't have nothing to say about Joe. But when Roger will have a stain on his shirt, child, they was going to report it. Roger spoke with a dry tone, they was going to report it. Roger did anything that was wrong in the eyes of Amy and Envy, they was going to report it. And I know the director is the one that set them up to do this, because she needed, little puppet. She actually was the puppet musketeer in this equation. And Envy just playing into it, and Amy just playing into it, because eventually they was going to come after me. And I didn't know it at this time, but I'm like, Roger, I'm trying to put Roger on game, and the whole time I should have just kept my mouth on mute, because I should have just looked out for myself. I should have just kept it real with myself, because I was peeping this, and I'm like, but Roger was seeking approval so bad. And what's crazy is they were even able to infiltrate and get to Ivy and Holly. They were able to get to all of the black people as well. Let's just keep it a buck. Maybe I might cut this out. It's I'm talking about, next thing I know, Holly's coming into work, and she got a bone to pick with Roger. Ivy coming to work, and she got something to say about Roger. Y'all don't even work on this team. Y'all ain't never worked with Roger. If anything, I have a lot to say about Roger, but what do? I keep it real. I don't say nothing, because I know Roger was slacking off. I know Roger was intentionally not doing his work, because he felt well, Joe don't do nothing on the TV team, so I don't have to do nothing. Okay, no, you're not Joe. You need to get up and do some work. You need to do these follow-up calls. You need to see your clients. But as soon as Rachel actually started working with us, ooh, child, Roger, what he thought he was going to be able to do. I'm getting ahead of myself. So Roger is getting picked on so bad to the point where he walks out of work. He basically quit, but because they needed him, what he did was he played into their game. They suspended him for a whole month, no pay. Basically, he quit, but they know that he needed the job, and they know that they needed him. So a whole month, no pay. And what they do in this time is, oh, Clarissa, you're going to do his job. And this is why I knew that I was going to be the next target, because I said this, and I said, I'm not getting 2 people's checks. I'm not getting 2 checks. So here's the thing. What they wanted me to do was they wanted me to work above and beyond. They wanted me to be able to see all these people and do all his job. And what I did was, I trained Rachel. Even though our supervisor liked to take the credit, I had to train Rachel to do the job very quickly. I'm talking about I'm not saying her do the job quickly, but rush. But I had to train her quickly, because she needed to know what to do. She needed to know how to see clients and do the crisis assessments, and how to do her notes, and basically how to do everything, and how to answer the phone calls, do follow-ups, all of that, because I knew that it was coming. Once they put that one on leave, honestly, I didn't even know if he was coming back, because I was there when he walked out. He walked out, left, talking about, oh, I need to go pick up my prescriptions, whatever excuse he told the supervisor, and did not come back. This is why I knew that I should never had his back, because you left me hanging. You left me hanging to pick up your job. You should have never betrayed a real one. But you know, this is why I said in my last video I had to accept betrayal, because I was not just betrayed by one person. Child, I was not just betrayed by one person, because it's more to come. I might have to do a part 2, because baby, this video is already 40 minutes in. So Rachel, she gets onto the, she gets to learning the job very quickly, and I'm real proud of her. So I made it very clear, like, anything that they're not gonna do, I'm not gonna do. You're not gonna be putting more work. They tried to make it seem like I had to go out and see these clients in public or at the hospital or at their home. Whole time, y'all not making nobody else do this, but because you felt like I'm in a position where, oh, I can do this to you now. I knew, I peeped game. All right, so it got to a point where I'm in an office now with just me, Rachel, Amy, and Envy. Me and Amy already is on a no contact order, no speaking, nothing. So anytime Envy would intentionally initiate a conversation, Amy sat directly in the middle or in between me and Envy. So Amy is so childish. This woman is in her 40s, 50s, 60s. Girl, I don't know. She looked up in age, but she was acting like she was an 18-year-old. Envy would try to get my attention, and when I would give her my attention at that point, because I had already kind of just was done with both of them, because I'm like, y'all some snakes. How you gonna sit here and try to set this boy up? You snitching, telling, we're all grown here. Like, what are we doing? Y'all are the least professional people that I ever met, but you want to sit here and go and get him in trouble? And like, y'all are just childish. So I was done with it. I had ripped them off. But anytime Amy would get my attention, Amy would sit like a boulder, you know, with big broad shoulders, and she would just make sure that she was just in the way, like, of me and like Envy making direct contact. So I would just lean back or just look through her, and I knew Amy would get so uncomfortable, because I would basically look through her just to talk to Envy, because I was never speaking no words. Like, Amy would try so hard to talk to me. She would start telling me all her family business and just anything. Rachel was real buddy with Amy, because, you know, Rachel thought that Amy was the one that was, well, she's trying to help me. Of course she is, because she's trying to save herself. Now that she's been exposed for who she really is, she found another black girl that she could try this all over again with. One thing about me is I'm not about to sit here and tell you who to befriend and who to like. I'm gonna let you experience these people for yourself, and I made sure that Rachel knew that. So I would be looking through Amy, because you're intentionally putting yourself in the way of me having a conversation with Envy. And of course, Envy would try to bring up any random conversation that would just get us to talk. She would try to come to work with her hair braided down, or just bring up something in Chicago, how like she had all these black friends and they were all gang members, and one day like they all like stashed their stuff at her home because her garage. Girl, just telling her whole tea, but like always making a point to just make, you know, let it be known that she was down with the brown. Like she was just down with black people, and that she had all these gang members just, you know, cool with her. And I'm just like, okay. Did not care. Well, one day she came to me and she was like, oh, I'm typing this paper. It's like not her dissertation, but she was like getting another like master's degree instead of getting her PhD. Like, I don't understand. And she had wrote a paper on black experiences, and it was like she was seeking my approval, and because I'm black, obviously. So I was just looking at this and I was just like, I mean, yeah, it's good. To be honest, I didn't really care to read it all the way through. I did read it, but I was just like, I too was writing a paper on black women in leadership, and it's just like, it just seemed more fitting as a black woman to speak on black experiences. But you as a white woman, because you didn't have all these black friends, think that you can come and just infiltrate. And I noticed that is a trend. Non-black people always want to speak on black experiences, like, and I don't understand why, but she was one of them. So I just read her paper before she submitted it, and she was like, is it good? I was like, yeah, like, you know, I think you hit a lot of notes. I mean, you can basically pull up 10,000 more papers written just like this, because you know why? It's from an outsider writing and, you know, on our experiences, and that's not the case. You cannot speak for black people. You cannot write on black experiences and expect it to be an A paper. Whether she got an A on it or not, I don't know. Well, that was going on. Rachel was real quiet. She stayed to herself. I was not going to force a conversation with Rachel. I'm like, if you're not going to talk to me, I'm not going to talk to you. I don't know what this is. Like, I just thought like she was going to be cool people, which eventually she was. It's just like I wasn't going to force that relationship with her. She did not speak, and it's like she spoke when she was spoken to, and like I was cool with that. You know, maybe it's best to come to work and just do your job. Honestly, it's best to come to work and just do your job. So I couldn't hate on her. Finally, January rolls around and Roger comes back. At this point, Roger, you know, he should be feeling refreshed. But when Roger comes back, I decided to go on my vacation to Costa Rica. Now, up until this point, because I think Roger came back a little bit. Yeah, he did come back right before I went on vacation. And I'm planning this trip. I had invited all my friends to go with me. And of course, by the time my trip came, nobody had nothing to say. I knew that they weren't coming by December because I'm like, y'all know y'all need passports. It's cool. Like, I was not going to not go on my trip. Like, and I feel like to my core to this day, I feel like some of them, if not all of them, expected me to cancel and just do something with them. It wasn't going to happen. So when I come to the conclusion, or I just come to terms that like, yo, I'm going to go on a solo trip. I'm going out of the country for the first time by myself. I ain't gonna lie, I was nervous, but like I had to hype myself up. Like I was just like, what can I do? Like, do I take a bus? Do I take Uber? Like should I get a car? Like a rental car? Like, girl, I was gonna give me a whole rental car. And anytime I would talk about this trip, Envy has something to say. Like, oh my God, you're going to a whole nother country. Like, why would you get like a rental? Like, oh my God, you're gonna take a bus. Like anything that I would say, she had something negative to say, and I just did not like it. And it got to the point where we're now on a no contact order. Don't speak to me. And we had a black officer to come in, and I had told him about the trip, and he, of course, he's more so coming from a concerned, I can't even say father, but like just a concerned man, like me being a single woman and black woman, like it was just, you know, that type of, that's where his concern, like, you know, he looking at me like, girl, you don't know no type of Spanish, you finna, like, but it was different coming from him because I knew where it was coming from, whereas from other people like in that office that had something to say, it was coming from a place of, I never traveled, I never done this, I never did none of that. And it was true. Like they all made a point to say like Joe, he brought up the fact that dang, like I'm in my late 40s and I've never even been to Costa Rica and you went to Costa Rica. Like they like made a point to bring that up, and that's how I knew that they were envious of me, jealous, haters. And so finally I'm just at a point where it's like, I told them straight up, like, don't speak on my trip. Like, don't speak on me. Like, I just felt disrespected. I was even friends with them on Facebook, and I made a whole Facebook post just because I knew that they were going to see, because I don't even post on Facebook. Anybody who knows me knows that I do not use Facebook to communicate or interact on, but I made a point to make this post. Like, I'm done with this. Well, anyways, Roger's back, and him and Rachel are getting to know each other. Of course, Roger's not trusting Rachel because Rachel's just too nice and too quiet, and he's not understanding, but it's more so he wanted her to just love him and like him, and she was just to herself, and that's what it was. I go on my trip, y'all. I had the best trip ever. Psych. I was hustled and bustled on this trip. Like, people saw me, and of course, I was an easy target, but I had some fun. I did have fun. I met a lot of people, but like, I realized that I tend to attract a lot of haters. I attract a lot of supporters, don't get me wrong, but like in the process, like I attract a lot of haters. Well, I come back from this trip and Rachel had a chance to experience Roger for herself. And I could tell that Rachel was fed up with Roger because Roger again went back to that mode of him just not wanting to pick up his part of the job, right? He wasn't willing to contribute to the team like he should have. And again, she's buddy-buddy with Amy because Amy was probably stepping in where Roger wasn't. So let's be real, like, ain't no telling what was going on while I was gone, baby. I was gone for 2 weeks. I ain't coming back. I took a whole 2-week hiatus because I was like, I need to reset. I need to reset. Well, during this time, or even like before this, like I had a little friend that I would talk to while I was at work. He would call me, and child, we'd be on the phone all day. We would be on the phone all day, like from the beginning of my shift to almost to the end, because he would be at work, so we would just be on the phone. And mind you, this is the most unprofessional most unprofessional group of people I ever worked with. Why all of a sudden I got a little friend and we talking and he is giving me all these positive affirmations, shot, and I'm just cackling, I'm just smiling, I'm just geeking, I'm just feeling myself, and they hating. So next thing I know, they send an email out talking about professional decorum, no talking on the phone, no doing nothing, basically. And I'm like, oh, all of a sudden y'all got these new rules. Y'all got these new rules. I done came back from my vacation. I'm like all bright in the face because I just like been reset and replenished and refreshed. And yeah, they was mad. They was hating. And so this is just the first year, y'all. I'm gonna do a part two because I done got like so like deep into the story. But it got to the point where now that Roger's back, they still like Amy and Envy, they still like on their goal to get Roger fired. So even though he's back and they didn't already made the man take a whole month, you know, leave without pay, child, they start typing up notes on this man. Oh, he came to work with a stain on this day. On this day, he was rude to this client on the phone. On this day, his voice was a little groggy. On this day, he was late. Child, one day, Roger came out of his meeting with the director and he had a 2-page essay written up on him of timestamps, dates, full on details on why he was getting written up. And I'm just like, oh my God. And at this point, me, Roger, and now Rachel, we start including her in our little conversations. We start making a plan to quit. Like, we cannot deal with this. We don't want to do this anymore. It's like, yo, we all got to go at the same time. Like, all of our exes got to go at the same time. Roger had to hop on it because it was clear as day that they was going to take him out any type of way. So he found him a job and he put in his 2 weeks. Child, they let that man go. They said, you know what, we go ahead and pay you, which is what I wish they would have done for me. But they didn't do that. What they did to him was, you're not able to come back here, but you can go ahead and go. We're gonna pay you out and you're gonna leave. You're dismissed, because they was planning on firing the man anyways. They was planning on firing him. So that's the first part of the story, child. Like, these people were so messy. They were so messy, so grimy. Haters, big haters. I'm gonna continue this in a part 2 because this video is already an hour long, so I'm gonna go ahead and close it right now, child. But yes, thank you so much for watching this video. Please go ahead, like, comment, subscribe, share the video. To any hater, if you work with a hater right now, share this video with them. If you work with people who are envious, or you just encounter haters on a daily basis, send this video to them. Okay, let's get these numbers up. All right, y'all, it's your girl Clarissa Lachey, aka Poison for the Soul, and you are now watching. Okay, let me stop. Thank you so much for watching.